Okay, so my book talk was about The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. It is about Leslie, a 10-year-old girl in Austria, in Nazi Germany, Austria to be exact, in 1939. The book is narrated by Death. Death is telling a story about a young girl he meets during the World War II. Very interesting. Leslie doesn't know how to read, and her brother Max dies on a train ride to Austria. She buries him, and along the burial, she steals a book, even though she can't read. Death finds this fascinating. She goes to Austria, where she meets her two step-parents, and her stepfather teaches her how to read. And as she learns how to read, she becomes more captivated by the power of words and how important words can be, especially how important books can be. So she begins to steal books with her friends. She steals them from book burnings, and then she steals them from the mayor's library, especially the mayor's wife. And this is 1939 Austria, and she has a Jew hiding in her house. His name is Max. And she begins to have a relationship with Max. And she sees how brutal the Nazis are towards Max and towards Jews in general. So Max runs away, and Leslie is left there. And during this time, her town is being bombed by Allied troops. So Leslie begins to read to her neighbors as she helped her develop her reading skills. Also, while she's doing this, she becomes a very good writer, and she begins to write a diary during this time, and she calls it her own book. And throughout the story, she becomes very bitter and very angry about what happens. She loses a lot of loved ones, and death is a big part of her life. And her whole town winds up dying, and she winds up writing. She's the only survivor, and she writes a novel, or she writes her stories about it, and Death takes the stories with him. I thought this book was unbelievably great. I gave it 5 stars. It was a 400-page book, but it was a very easy read. Don't let the page distinguish you. The book was amazing. It had suspense, drama. I had sweaty palms at some points because of how great this book was. I think this book is important because it shows you just how powerful words can be in books in general. And one 10-year-old girl felt the same way. If one person can feel like that, hundreds can, and I think this is important to have out there in society. History always repeats itself, therefore we need to learn from it, and we need to see what we can do with it. So this book was fantastic. I gave it 5 stars, and I hope you enjoy it.